Thank you, Martin. That's very kind, very generous of you. It has been a real pleasure to serve Albertans in this role as Minister of Tech and Innovation, and before that, Minister of Service Alberta, but ultimately for that entire time being responsible for the cybersecurity function of the Government of Alberta. And I have to say, couldn't have done it without you, Martin, and your team. So we are very well served by some extraordinary talent in our department. Thank you also to BSides for inviting me to be here with you today. It's really good to be able to talk about the concrete steps that we are all taking to keep Albertans and Alberta-based organizations safe in the ever-evolving cybersecurity environment. We know that as technology changes and evolves at an unprecedented rate, digital threats evolve at an unprecedented rate, and we need to remain vigilant. So I look forward to highlighting some of the new initiatives that we have underway within the Government of Alberta to support and further this work. But before I dive in, I'd like to thank ISC Squared for the incredible amount of work that went into planning this event. And thank you to Nate for hosting us in this beautiful Productivity and Innovation Center. Many people contributed their time and energy to make today happen. But I'd like to take a moment to recognize the efforts of one individual, and that is Harvinder Dhami, who is a digital forensic investigator who freelances with many organizations across Alberta and Canada. He is also a dedicated volunteer for BSides every year. I understand this is the 6th year, so that's a long time. And I know he's also a volunteer for many other cybersecurity-focused conferences and events. And so, is Harvinder in the room? I think Martin might have just gone to go get him. Well, bear with us for a moment. Did you find him, Martin? He's probably busy working on the conference somewhere else, trying to get ready for the next, the next thing. So, there we go, Harvinder, awesome. Well, you missed all the nice things I just said about you, but come on up here, Harvinder.
Too busy doing too many things at the same time.
So now that he's here, I'll just couple of quick things I want to say about Harvinder. For the last 6 years, he has played a central role in coordinating and promoting BSides, the conference here in Edmonton, and coordinating the international keynote speakers, including Alyssa Knight, who you all would have had a chance to hear from yesterday. And Harvinder does so much to promote cybersecurity as a profession in Alberta. This isn't just something that's happening, in the basements and, hidden off in some corner somewhere. This is a real profession that is super important to the future of our province, our country, and the whole world. And thanks to folks like Harvinder, that is continuing to be better and better recognized. And he's doing all of this work in a volunteer capacity with so many organizations across the province. He chooses to go above and beyond his role to participate in the cybersecurity community. As Martin mentioned, our vision as a government is we want to invest in building a strong community around cybersecurity, because if we all only focus about our own problems and protecting our own systems, we will be weaker for it. But if we work together, we will be able to defend against whatever life throws at us. And so thanks again to Harvinder, who is working to strengthen this profession and to build this community and to share his knowledge to benefit all Albertans. So the BSides Executive Board has put together this Cybersecurity Survival Pack as a small token of our appreciation for everything you do for the profession. It's full of some fun and lighthearted items that we hope will make some of your work a little easier. So let's give him a hand.
And this was also last minute, but we got an award prepared also for you.
Wow, well, look at that.
Mr. Glubish to actually...
Well, congratulations. Well, don't thank me till you look what's in the bag. Well, much like Harvinder, we're all here because we are passionate about cybersecurity, and we're passionate about our shared responsibility to protect our citizens, our clients, our customers. And that accountability becomes increasingly complex with every passing year. In fact, it almost feels like with every passing day. Can you relate to that? Like every day something new is coming and being thrown at us, and we've got to rise to the occasion and find a way to protect against it. That accountability becomes, sorry, I'm just repeating myself here. That's what happens when you ad lib and then you go back to your speech. But more technology means more innovation, but it also inevitably means more vulnerabilities. And because of that, every business in Alberta, from retail to tourism to healthcare, should also consider itself to be in the business of cybersecurity. They won't have success without it. And in many ways, it is becoming the backbone of our society. Whether you're shopping online or applying for a social program or making a doctor's appointment, your experience is supported in some way and then secured by a rigorous cybersecurity program and a team of talented individuals who back it up. And yet, cybersecurity can often be overlooked within an organization. But when done well, it can be easy to miss because nobody notices when nothing goes wrong. But the avoiding of something going wrong doesn't happen by accident. It is deliberate. It may look like business as usual with no second thoughts required, and that's one of the reasons why so many organizations struggle to justify cybersecurity investments, which often produce a tangible return only when an incident takes place. You can't wait for something to break before you make the investments to address the problem. You got to make the investments in advance. And yeah, I can relate. As the minister responsible for the cybersecurity budget, I got to go to Treasury Board. I got to go to my colleagues and I got to say, you know what? We need to invest millions more in cybersecurity. Because if we don't, here's what can go wrong. And I can't prove it to them. I can't say, tomorrow we're going to have a $5 million cost because we didn't make this investment. I can only try and scare them a little. Maybe you can all relate to that in talking to your colleagues. But it's important. It's important to make those investments. And those investments provide the secure and trusted experience that keeps our clients and our customers coming back again and again. As professionals, we cannot compromise on the quality of those protections because while cybersecurity is an invisible component and a constant presence in our lives, the field is anything but constant. It is continuously changing with new challenges and problems popping up every day. Thankfully, Martin doesn't call me every day with all the problems, but that's why we have a good team ready to meet those challenges. Technology, including the exploits used by cyber threat actors, it moves at breakneck speeds. And it is too much for any one person or organization to mitigate on their own. And that's why networking and knowledge sharing and events like this are so critical to the overall success of business and of our province. We each have a responsibility to Albertans to evolve with the threat and to stay ahead of it, but none more than the Alberta government. In fact, we are looking to play a more significant role in the future of the provincial cybersecurity ecosystem. We are changing how we think about cybersecurity in a big way. Our vision is outlined in Alberta's cybersecurity strategy, which you can find on the Alberta government website. It's our guiding document that outlines some of the emerging threats we respond to every day and some of the new approaches we are adopting to mitigate them. While we want Albertans to have a clear vision of how we are protecting their personal information, we keep this document fairly high level because we cannot release details that would help would-be attackers. Our cybersecurity strategy is complemented by several internal documents such as policies, tactical plans, playbooks, and frameworks that describe the processes and procedures to help staff respond to threats appropriately and efficiently. Because sometimes when you're responding to a threat, minutes matter. If it takes you 2 or 3 days to respond to a threat, it's probably too late. But if you can recognize it right away and respond right away and know that you've got a plan, you've got a roadmap, your team knows what is everybody's job right now. What do I got to do in minute 1? What do I got to do in minute 5? What do I got to do in minute 10? What are all the steps I got to do to secure the system and to mitigate the attack? That's why these procedures are so important for us as a government and for all of you. We know the cyber threat continually evolves, so we have to keep up by continually updating our threat and risk assessments, as well as our mitigation and treatment controls, and also by updating our strategy and our plans at least annually. Recent years have shown us that we can no longer just keep an eye on our network and react to alerts and threats and incidents. We have to adopt a proactive posture where we continuously identify and assess and manage threats and risks before they become a significant incident. For example, we've adopted a risk-based approach to decision-making where risk exposure and cybersecurity expert advice is considered prior to any significant IT decision. Cybersecurity is no longer in the back, in the basement. They're at the core of everything we do when it comes to implementing a technological solution or a service across the entire government. We use an enterprise perspective to identify alternatives, which helps to ensure that we're making the best decision for government as a whole instead of prioritizing the needs of any single project. You can imagine in an organization as big as the government with a budget of $60+ billion and 20-some different departments doing everything from education to healthcare to public safety and everything in between. There's a lot of different people, tens of thousands of people working for the Government of Alberta, all working on solving tons of complex problems, many of which are going to require some kind of a technological solution. If we just let everybody go and do their own thing, we'd never be able to protect it. We'd never be safe. Not in the current environment. We have to have an enterprise-wide focused approach. And that's at the core of our cybersecurity strategy now. Our overall cybersecurity approach is based on a zero-trust model, where every control is closed by default and opened by choice, and only when we can guarantee the user's identity. This helps to ensure that only government staff with the appropriate security clearance can access certain systems or pieces of information. This approach is the foundation upon which all other cybersecurity controls are built, including our current integration of DevSecOps into our development standards, which is something I'm particularly excited about. This approach has been the standard in the private sector for some time, but it is something relatively new for governments. I just got back from Ontario where we had a meeting of all of the cybersecurity ministers from across the country. And we got to talk about, what are our experiences in every different province. And I'm so encouraged coming out of that meeting to see that Alberta is really leading the country. The approach that we are taking, we are ahead of the curve. We got to stay there. We got to keep working hard to stay ahead of the curve. This approach is an opportunity to build safer and more trustworthy services and to do it faster so that Albertans can be confident in using online and digital services every time they log in. It ensures that we are building security through the entire life cycle of every digital service from concept through development to production and even through decommissioning at the end of life of a service. Alberta's government is also exploring how we can benefit from emerging technologies like artificial intelligence. If done right, and we are committed to doing it right, AI-powered tools present an opportunity to detect patterns and to improve triaging and potentially allowing us for earlier detection of attacks and better understanding of root causes. This is particularly important in an era where more and more attackers are relying on malicious code that is developed by AI. If we are afraid to use AI, we will become the victim of threat actors who are using AI. Good thing is, Alberta is the home to some of the best and the brightest AI talent in the world. And we can be proud of that. And we should leverage that. And as a government, we are leveraging that. As we all know, would-be threat actors no longer need to have specialized knowledge. They just need to access the internet and a large language model like ChatGPT, which can write new malicious code or improve existing code. So as you can see, We are taking a multi-layered approach to security, applying best practices and standards to stay ahead of cyber threats. Alberta's government also works closely with our federal, provincial, and territorial counterparts so we can be confident that we are using the most up-to-date and relevant insights to inform our decisions. And we use these insights to build trust into the center of our cybersecurity strategy. Albertans must have confidence that we are protecting them, and we take that responsibility very seriously. In fact, we have spent the last few years considering how can we expand our cybersecurity services to public and private sector organizations across the province, and Martin touched on that a little bit. That's why we created the Cyber Alberta Community of Interest in 2022. This is an idea Martin had a long time ago, and I was so excited when he brought it to me because I'm like, this is what we need. I often say as a minister and as an MLA, my job is not to be the smartest person in the room. My job is not to have all the answers. My job is to find the smartest people in different areas and to count on them for good advice. And that's why we're very lucky to have Martin and his team at the Government of Alberta. Because I wouldn't have come up with Cyber Alberta on my own. But when I saw it, I knew it was what we needed. And I could immediately get behind it, fight for funding, and get it done, get it across the finish line. And so, what is Cyber Alberta? Well, it's led by us, the Government of Alberta, and it brings together cybersecurity leads from more than 160 organizations across the province and nearly 250 individuals to share information and knowledge and tactics to help every member improve their ability to respond to threats. And we welcome participation from every entity in this province, from credit unions and banks to nonprofits and small business, from energy to healthcare and everything in between. I know that there are some member organizations here today, but I would encourage any of you, if you are interested, to join us. Reach out. You can find us at cyberalberta@gov.ab.ca. Reach out to Martin, reach out to the BSides folks. They can get you connected. We are continuing to grow this group to the benefit of all Albertans. Our vision is to help organizations of all sizes to protect their businesses and their clients, including smaller businesses like mom and pop shops that may not have the expertise or the staff in-house to clearly identify the threats and to meet their cybersecurity needs. We have big plans for how Cyber Alberta will support the provincial cybersecurity ecosystem, starting with improving the way we share intelligence. Previously, a significant lack of readily available information forced organizations to use their limited resources to research emerging threats and trends. And this left well-resourced organizations with context and information, while smaller organizations with fewer resources were often left in the dark. This significant problem permeates our entire province. So to combat this, Cyber Alberta has begun producing regular threat intelligence and vulnerability reports that we share with our member organizations. This is the first is a bi-weekly newsletter that we call Cyber Minute, and it provides an overview of high-profile stories in the global cybersecurity ecosystem, as well as Alberta-focused context and links to find more information. Can they trust the links in the Cyber Minute? I think so. But as we know all too well, the best, most helpful cybersecurity information isn't always in the public domain. And that's why we've also introduced quarterly threat reports that provide advice and recommendations on how to identify and respond to significant threats like state-sponsored cyber threat actors. These reports are informed by our in-house intelligence, including information we may gather from our counterparts in other jurisdictions. Again, leveraging our counterparts in every other province and in the federal government. That is one of the things that we as a province can do that none of you can do because of the unique nature, the fact that we are a government. And so for me as minister, it is so important to say, well, how can I use my position as a minister and our position as a government to access the maximum amount of information that will benefit our community and make that accessible to the cybersecurity professionals here who are all working with the common goal of protecting Alberta's interests. And so I would strongly encourage you, if this is your field, if this is your passion, get plugged into Cyber Alberta. we can help. We can help each other. We know that threats don't always wait for a quarterly report to come through. Sometimes members need information more urgently. And so Cyber Alberta's newest reports are sent as needed to share information about urgent and active attacks. For example, we shared details about the Midnight Blizzard social engineering attacks that took place through Teams in August. This helped our members to take quick action without relying on them to discover the story through their own means. For some organizations, this may have saved a few hours, but others may have improved their response by days or weeks. And as you all know, that's a big deal. That could be the difference between a secure system and a breach. I think back to, we probably all who follow cybersecurity will remember recently this summer that Nova Scotia suffered a significant breach in their Move It system. The Move It vulnerability was something that impacted the entire world. And unfortunately, they weren't able to close the vulnerability in time. And I talked to that minister and his deputy minister, and the consequences of that have been very grave. It has been a difficult road for them. We are fortunate that we were able to respond quickly. And we use Cyber Alberta to support our community to say, hey, you need to know that this is happening. And hey, this is what we're doing to protect Alberta. If this helps you, great. We're hoping it helps you. That's what Cyber Alberta is all about. Sharing that information in a robust and strategic way is a simple tactic. But sometimes simple is all you need to really improve our cybersecurity infrastructure. It's also filling a need expressed by industry who have urged governments time and time again to provide more insight into cybersecurity threats that may affect their businesses. All of these reporting mechanisms are in relatively early days. We're just getting started. But our member organizations are already giving us tons of positive feedback, and they're calling these reports very helpful and valuable, so I'm so glad to hear that. There is a shortage of cybersecurity talent in Canada, and by creating these reports, Cyber Alberta is looking to help organizations to use their resources to their maximum effectiveness so that they can focus on the most urgent priorities. But reporting is just our first step. As Cyber Alberta continues to mature, I want to grow its role in this province. Earlier, I mentioned that the Government of Alberta is exploring the potential of AI-informed cybersecurity tools. With the wealth of experience available through membership, Cyber Alberta could play an advisory role as the Government of Alberta develops policies and procedures. Ideally, this could help make AI adoption easier for other member organizations, enabling this innovative solution to reach across the province and to protect even more Albertans. AI-informed cybersecurity tools introduce automation and analytical capabilities that support existing industry professionals that are often trying to do more with fewer resources, including with smaller teams. This brings me to the issue of the global shortage of talent in the cybersecurity space and the significant risk that it poses to many organizations across this province. While AI can help to lighten the load, simply stated, there aren't enough qualified cybersecurity professionals with a strong educational background and the experience to back it up, leaving organizations to compete for the same relatively small talent pool. This is something else we speak to in Alberta's cybersecurity strategy because the government is also feeling that pressure of this shortage. We want to play an active role in addressing this problem, and so we've introduced a few initiatives. The first is our work experience program that my department developed in partnership with the Department of Advanced Education. Over a 2-year period, the Government of Alberta's cybersecurity team welcomed 4 recent graduates into paid positions where they worked closely with mentors to combat real threats. They didn't have work experience. They hadn't worked in cybersecurity before. Yes, they were graduates. That gives you the basics. But we said we need to invest in building talent. And it's not enough just to give an education program in our schools. We've got to give people an opportunity to work in the profession, to be mentored by seasoned executives in the profession. And that's exactly what we did. This program is intended to provide that hands-on experience to complement and enrich the educational foundations gained through one of the excellent cybersecurity programs offered through Alberta's post-secondary institutions. When the pilot year wrapped up, 3 of the 4 students accepted full-time positions with our team. And this year, we've expanded the program to include even more learners. We're also incorporating a classroom component where participants spend half of their first year in class at SAIT. While this program can only accommodate a small number of learners right now, it is a step in the right direction to help our province gain the cybersecurity talent needed to protect Albertans and Alberta business. And we know not all of those folks are going to come and end up working for us long term. That's okay. We're investing in the talent because we know all of you are going to need to access that talent. The organizations you work for or eventually will work for will all need access to that talent. This is one of the ways that we as a government can invest in building that talent that goes beyond just creating a program in our post-secondary institutions and hoping for the best. It provides that bridge into real work experience and mentorship. We do want our learners to have the opportunity to work with Cyber Alberta members too. And so to that end, we are actively working to establish a place where we can share these opportunities to make it easier for post-secondary students and recent graduates to find these positions. Almost like Cyber Alberta can become the one-stop shop in Alberta for all things cybersecurity. Wouldn't that be great if you knew this is the best place and the one place you need to go to find everything you need, to find the best, smartest people, to find the most exciting jobs, and to get the best intelligence that will help you to reach your fullest potential. That's what we're all about at Cyber Alberta. So while it's still in its infancy, the Government of Alberta's Work Experience Program, we've received some great positive feedback, and I believe that we have the potential to grow this into a solution that helps to address Canada's cybersecurity talent shortage. And in fact, several other jurisdictions across the country have told us that they are watching our program with great interest as they consider implementing something similar. This is another example of Alberta leading the country. And we should be proud of that. All of us, not just government, all Albertans should be proud of that because we as a province, as a technology ecosystem, as a cybersecurity ecosystem, we are leading the country. But we can't address the talent shortage just by targeting our current post-secondary students. My ministry is also working closely with the Ministry of Education to infuse more cybersecurity education into the K-12 curriculum. From kindergarten to grade 9, we'll introduce a cyber safe program to help young Albertans develop strong cybersecurity habits to protect them when they're online. Because at the end of the day, all things cyber start with your own habits, your own activity online. Training people to understand the risks and the threats that are out there, because they're out there whether you are aware of them or not. Let's make sure our young people grow up aware of the risks online. Not so that they're scared, but so that they're prepared. So that they know how to conduct themselves online and conduct their activities online in a safe and secure way. There's so many risks in the cyberspace that have simple protections, simple solutions to completely mitigate and neutralize them. Things like two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication is probably the more correct term now. Little things like that make a big difference. And teaching kids about these principles early is going to save them from a world of hurt and is going to prepare them to be more productive citizens, whatever career they choose, because they will not be a problem to their organization's cybersecurity team. They're not going to fall victim to a phishing attack. They're not going to click on a malicious link. They're not going to go and visit some kind of a random site that it has malware on it. They're not going to open the door to a ransomware attack if we teach them early. And that's what we're working on with our curriculum now. From grades 10 to 12, we're going to focus on building awareness of cybersecurity as a potential career path. This is where it gets really exciting. How many of you knew what you were going to do when you were in grade 10 to 12? I sure didn't. I didn't know that this is where I was going to end up. But if we can motivate and encourage and inspire our kids to pursue these careers when they're young and equip them with the tools to get plugged in, this is going to be really exciting. I see the 5-minute sign at the back. Thank you for that. We want to make sure that our students are thinking about these kinds of opportunities to work in. And that's also part of why we're exploring creating micro-credentialing programs that will help to see students graduating high school with an entry-level certification to help them get their foot in the door in the cybersecurity profession. So once again, I think Cyber Alberta's range of experience and expertise will come in handy as we develop these opportunities in our education system. But we also don't want to leave older Albertans out of our programming and out of our efforts. We are developing a digital literacy program that includes cybersecurity awareness for Albertans who may need a little extra support in their daily lives. So beyond all of that, what's next? Well, I've spent most of my time today talking about what Alberta's government is already doing. But I want to be clear that we have big plans as we look into the future. We want to continue to reinforce the safety and security of the Alberta government network and assist Alberta-based organizations as well. So we are considering the possibility of a cyber compliance program for all of Alberta. And this would be a voluntary program that welcomes participation from every organization with roots in Alberta, whether it's a small retail business or a nonprofit charity or a multinational corporation. And this cyber compliance program would establish varying levels of protection that account for the different needs of every participant. Our long-term vision is to leverage this model to help secure our supply chain using principles of the zero trust model I mentioned earlier. Every time the government hires a vendor, we introduce a certain level of risk into our environment. Whether that means integrating a new solution into our service ecosystem or giving a contractor access to government information. So this approach with the cyber credentialing would help to mitigate those risks, because in essence, we would leverage the cyber compliance levels to establish cybersecurity requirements for vendors applying to our procurement activities. Rather than set a blanket requirement that all vendors have to meet, we would be able to instead set a sliding scale of cybersecurity protections based on the nature of the contract. For example, a vendor selling products may only require a firewall and antivirus program to ensure safe email exchanges, while a technology solution provider would also require a more robust program to ensure government information is handled in a secure way. While we are already having some of these requirements in place for individual procurements, adopting a standardized model government-wide would help to ensure that every vendor that interacts with the government meets a cybersecurity standard that keeps them and the government and Albertans safe. And this could also help to simplify our procurements, particularly in the event of an attack when a quick action is of the utmost importance. It will also allow other public sector entities to leverage trusted, verified procurements to save time and money in an emergency when they may not have an appropriate vendor already in place. For example, if a school is hit by a ransomware attack and their cybersecurity program does not have the tools required to address that attack, they'd be able to hire appropriate expertise in a matter of hours or days instead of weeks or months. This is a hypothetical example, but it speaks to the very real need of a cyber compliance program that we can actually move the needle in a positive way. There is a long road ahead before Alberta's government is ready to take these steps, but we're confident that we can continue moving in that direction through the other initiatives that I've spoken to today. So wrapping up, the cybersecurity space has changed so much in such a short time. And I'm proud to see Alberta's government working to address some of the major challenges that are present in this field. More importantly, I'm proud to see our cybersecurity lens extend beyond the boundaries of our own network to support the province in a more robust and tangible way. And together with our partners in Cyber Alberta, we are working towards a more cyber-safe province where every Albertan feels safe when accessing online services and every organization is poised to respond to emerging threats with confidence. Our province is well positioned to lead the country in developing a high standard in cybersecurity, and I'm confident knowing that our charge is led by the professionals in this room. If you or your organization would like to play a bigger role in the future development of our shared cybersecurity ecosystem, I encourage you, please reach out to Cyber Alberta. We'd be honored to welcome you to welcome you and the wealth of expertise that you would bring. So thank you again to our organizers for inviting me today to be here with you to speak to an issue that I'm very passionate about, and I know all of you are passionate about. I understand there's some time set aside for questions, although maybe I talked a little too long. So with that, I'm going to just wrap up and happy to hear your thoughts. Thank you again for having me today.
So we do have a couple of minutes if you're interested, if you have any questions for Minister Glubish.
Oh, we got a mic.
It was very exciting to hear about the Cyber Alberta program. I am a board member of ISA Square Alberta chapter. And since 2017, through our chapter, we have been running a program called Safe and Secure Online. I've been going around schools in Edmonton, especially to elementary schools, and educating little kids about cyber safety practices, like safe password and how to not make friends online, and how online friends are not same as real life friends. So there has been a lot of enthusiasm from our chapter, but we did not find the trust within the Albertans, unfortunately. So it was very difficult to find volunteering opportunities. So I'm wondering if you have, are you opening this program to volunteer organizations like ISA Square Alberta chapter so that we can contribute and serve the cause?
Well, we would love to have anybody who's interested, whether you're for-profit, not-for-profit, it doesn't matter. Get plugged into Cyber Alberta. We'd love to have you, and Martin and his team would be happy to get you plugged in.
Okay, great.
Thank you for what you're doing to try and raise awareness and to teach our kids. It's important.
Thank you. We also have the similar program for seniors as well as parents, and we go to nonprofit organizations just like what you are trying to do and teach them about cyber safety practices, especially phishing and other, malware education. Yeah.
That's great. Well, get plugged into Cyber Alberta.
Will do.
We'll work
Thank you.
together. You bet. All right. Who else? Excuse me. I think I'll let Martin. You can be the.
Yeah, I think I saw Prashant's hand first.
Thank you, Mr. Glubish. My name is Prashant. I work for Enbridge. First of all, let's celebrate this moment, the fact that yourself as a minister with Martin and team here understand, and it's such music to ears, actually, to be honest, to see that cybersecurity, Alberta is leading the charge in Canada. We talk about threats, we talk about intelligence at this level that we understand what's going on in this world. So it's definitely music to ears, at least for me, and I'm sure for others in this organization, in this floor. I have a quick question. I'm a sessional instructor as part-time in Concordia University as well. You talked about certain option to bring up cyber talent and to make sure that they come on board. Many of my students come from overseas, whether it's India, Africa, and other places. They ask a very simple question: what can we do to improve ourselves to be more employable in future? So even though the government and other agencies are bringing up this talent and trying to bring it forth, what would be your suggestion to this budding talent who comes on board as these students who want to be part of Canada, who want to be part of the Alberta ecosystem, and who want to leverage themselves and become more cyber savvy going forward?
It's a great question. Well, I mean, I would say there's no harm in then getting them plugged into Cyber Alberta as well, because that's a great networking opportunity. And we all know in business, everything comes about based on relationships. So Cyber Alberta can be an opportunity for them to reach out and get connections all across Alberta, whether it's with the government or whether it's with private sector, not-for-profits, doesn't matter. So that would be my encouragement there, is just don't be shy. Get plugged in. Get out to events like this. Get out and meet people. And, as I said, we're going to be doing as much as we can to increase work-integrated learning opportunities within the government, and also working with industry to encourage them to do the same. Because we're all in this together, and we need to find ways to help bridge that, just pure academic into actually building experience and getting people into the profession. So it's going to be a bit of a work in progress, but we're keen to the issue. Thank you.
We'll take one last question. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Has there been any consideration of developing programs to help skilled trade workers enter the cybersecurity workspace? I think there is a lot of untapped transferable skills as a resource to bring people into that. So I was wondering if that's been...
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of where some of the micro-credentialing pieces that I talked about can come in. We've been exploring this in a few other disciplines too, where, as folks are considering maybe leaving, petrochemical engineering, and they want to go into maybe AI, for example. So I know the the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute at the U of A has been developing all kinds of programming to help folks who are professionals, who have an engineering background or some kind of a technical background, and helping them to port into the AI space. I think we may be exploring some similar kinds of things in terms of saying, well, maybe cybersecurity is more of interest. But we're still in the early stages in terms of some of the curriculum stuff I talked about and some of the post-secondary stuff I talked about. But it is important, and we're working hard on that to expand the opportunities for folks to get the expertise they need to enter this profession, because we need more people, full stop. Awesome. Well, thanks, everybody. I appreciate having the chance to chat with you all today, and thanks for all you do to keep Alberta safe.